Vâng, xin chào quý vị. Thưa quý vị, Trịnh Hội hiện giờ đang ngồi ở một cái thành phố ở miền nam của nước Na Uy, của thủ đô Oslo. Lái xe khoảng chừng 2 tiếng thì đến. Và Trịnh Hội đang ngồi trước mặt ông Lars Rise. Ông từng là cựu dân biểu của Quốc hội Na Uy, và Trịnh Hội đã quen ông vào đầu thập niên 2000 khi mà lần đầu tiên sang bên Na Uy vận động cho những người thường dân Việt Nam lúc đó còn kẹt bên Phi Luật Tân. Đêm hôm qua thì Trịnh Hội gặp ông lại trong một đêm văn nghệ gây quỹ, giúp đỡ những người Việt tị nạn còn lại cũng như giúp phát triển xã hội dân sự Việt Nam. Cái video này cũng ngắn gọn thôi, Trịnh Hội chỉ có 3 câu hỏi dành cho ông. I was just saying, Lars, that how I met you back in the early 2000s, and right now we are sitting at your residence, kind of like about 2 hours drive south of Oslo. If you could just please look at the camera and say hi to everyone, and then I will have 3 questions for you.
Hello. Great to see you.
And that's it.
That's
Lars, it's been a while since I last saw you, and it was great to see you and former Minister Heikki Holmes last night at the fundraiser. And you met with some of the refugees who were stateless 13 years ago, and now they're great. What were you going through then?
For me, it was very emotional, of course, to see all those faces, knowing that only a few years back they were very uncertain about the future in the Philippines. And it was probably when I met some of them, I think 3 years ago, and one young boy who was, I think, 2 years old when he came here, and now he was like 13 years old, and he could read in fluent Norwegian speech to me, thanking me for helping, contributing so that he could come to Norway. It was extremely emotional. And then to see this big group last night, it's unexplainable. A big joy for me to see that.
To see that, right?
And it gives me desire to do more to help the people of Vietnam, because I know that since I was working with this bill that miraculously passed in the parliament in 2005, or was I in the fall 2004? I think it was.
Correct.
The population in Vietnam has increased by more than 1 million per year. So from 80 million now up to 96.5. So in 3 years there will be 100 million people in Vietnam. And it's unbearable to know that the 15th biggest nation in the world, population-wise,
Right.
is not a free country.
Right.
It's suppression.
Right.
It's dangerous to speak up against the government.
Correct.
It's dangerous to have a different view, and it's dangerous to even to be active in your religion.
Correct.
No matter what.
Correct. So that leads me to the second question, right? There are other guys like me growing up in the West, and you met with some Vietnamese Norwegians who are here now, Norwegians, but who are very concerned about the human rights situation back in their parents' homeland in Vietnam.
Yes.
If there's one advice you could give to them, to the Vietnamese outside of Vietnam, such as Voice Norway, such as myself, in dealing with the international community, such as the Norwegian government and the Norwegian parliament, what should we do? What do you think is the most effective way for us to do in order to bring changes to Vietnam?
The Vietnamese minority in Norway has so much sympathy from the Norwegian population. Since the first loads of boat refugees came here, and I was working as a reporter for the national TV actually in 1981 and 82, when there were so many Norwegian ships picking up loads of refugees from the sea.
Right.
And it was very emotional. and they were so welcome to Norway. Now we have about 21,000 Vietnamese people in Norway, and I would say that Vietnamese minority is a very silent minority. You just work very hard, you do business, you do your duty, but you don't really stand up and mark, we are the Vietnamese community, and we need to be heard. And most of all, our country, our fellow citizens in Vietnam, they are not free and they need help. So I think actually the Vietnamese community could stand up much more, but I think it must be in your culture in a way, that you are very polite, you are very filled with duty and thankfulness to your new country, but not really standing up and demanding action. So I think that could be done much more. So I think if you and we could meet with some of the Vietnamese groups. There are so many different associations and churches and different religious groups, the Buddhists, the Christians, and maybe some NGOs, some Vietnamese associations. I think we could do a lot.
Right here?
Together.
Do you think that it's possible to organize something here then?
Absolutely. So we could have some of the key people, we could gather here so that we could be informed, be inspired, have a vision, and have a strategy. This is what we could do together.
Yes. That would be fantastic.
Be informed,
yes.
Be inspired, and have a vision, and then have a strategy.
Yes.
I think those four things very, very important and very interconnected.
Correct. So which leads me to then the last question. I hope this message is going to go back to my homeland, Vietnam, where, as you said, there are many Vietnamese, yet they don't know much about the outside world, especially from people like you. What will be your one message to the young and the courageous and the committed back in Vietnam? What should they do to bring about democratic changes?
Think about this. In the old East Bloc, when we saw the wall in Berlin as something impossible, the big Soviet Union and the East Bloc, something impossible to move. But there was one electrician in Poland who climbed over a fence, Lech Wałęsa. He started a movement that could not be stopped, and it ended up with the whole Soviet Union collapsing and splitting up. And so sometimes one person can do amazing things. And there was one person in history, Frank Buchmann, he said once, one man plus God is a majority. So in a non-democratic country, but it's something to think about, that one man stood up against slavery in the British Empire, Wilberforce. It took him 37 years to remove slavery. Mm-hmm. It is possible for one person to initiate something and then create a movement. Mm-hmm. When you see injustice, when you see suppressed people, it is something that can be changed. And we have to believe that. If we believe it's possible to change, the opportunities are massive. And think about this. Vietnam has now 96 million people. And then I don't think the Communist Party in Vietnam is very eager to publish how many members do we have. They don't have a majority of the population. They only have maybe 2-3 million.
4. I think roughly they have 4 million.
Officially they have 4 million, but then when you look at the membership list, how many of those 4 millions are not so very active, but they are only members because it's required, because of the job they have in the administration. They have to be members. But those who are members with the heart is less than 4 million.
Right.
For sure. So that means, how can 4 million people dominate 96 million? And they cannot for a very long time, I think. Just look at what is happening in Iran right now. Very similar. 70 million people, only maybe 2 million people supporting the government, and it's almost like impossible to control a whole country, a whole nation like that for generations. It cannot happen. So I know that only 6% of the population in Vietnam, they experience as adult people the war, the Vietnam War. So 94% were either they were children or young people, or they.
Right.
I mean, it's a very young population.
Yes.
More than 50% is less than 30 years old.
Right.
This generation will not accept the dictatorship that they see now, and I think all of you are able to do it. You can do it. We can do it. You can make a change from the inside, and you can make the regime go down.
And then we will be able to meet up with each other in Vietnam.
Absolutely.
So thank you. I am really grateful. Honestly, I'm really grateful that I get to see you, especially today at your home. Because without people like you, not just me, but the refugees wouldn't be where they are today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.